our speaker today. It's a treat beyond measure, and I can tell you that this incredible, beautiful soul, strong, powerful woman, amazing light has become extremely indispensable to me personally. I'll probably never be able to thank her enough for what she, how she supports me in my transition here as senior minister. Her prayers, her incredible wisdom, and her delightful way of looking at things. And so I love her dearly, and I would very much like for you to help me welcome Maura, giving her time. Hello, Spotlight.
I am thankful for something really big this morning. I am thankful for the fact that my parents, Annie and Shelby, don't know about YouTube, don't get on YouTube, so I can tell stories about them. And they don't know, and it's not awkward, and that they don't know that I go to some hippie love church. And that's what I'm grateful for this morning. So the topic, the latitude of gratitude that I picked, or the latitude of your gratitude, I picked this because a lot of times we think we need to get away before we can be grateful. We need to go to another location on the map before things can be better. But today what I want to speak to you about is the latitude of your thoughts is really where it's at. Latitude is also scope, so it's the scope of your thoughts. So now let me get to that Shelby and Annie story. Vacations when I was little were very interesting. My father and mother would plan a vacation, and we never flew, because I found out later my father hated flying, and he was terrified. But we never knew that. It was always just because it's better to drive. It's part of the journey. So we would wake up at like some god-awful hour, like 4:30 in the morning, and we've always had to pack sandwiches, because God forbid you stopped for lunch on the way, and you spent that money, and you took that time, because you had to get there. Whether it was across the country, whether it was across Texas where we were, we had to get there, wherever there was. So we would pack our things and we'd get in the car. And as a teenager, my nieces and nephews would travel with us. And if I saw one of those little kids starting to cross their legs in the car, I'd be like, no, do not even. You've got to hold it. You don't want this. Because if you said, I've got to go to the bathroom, oh my gosh, you just derailed the whole trip, by golly. And my dad would stand there literally in the parking lot and be like this, okay, we gotta go. We gotta go. You gotta get over that fence, in that field, we gotta go. I mean, it was like go time, all the time. And so we'd rush for a day drive, 2-day drive. We might go to a Hojo's, a Howard Johnson or Motel 6 with a pool. That's about as fancy as it got. Eat it at Denny's because, that was the coolest. And then we get to our destination, and my dad would be pretty chill for a day or two at most. So we'd go by the ocean, he'd be like, that's great, this is good. My dad didn't stand crowds, so we didn't go to Disney World or Disneyland or anything like that. But he was great, and he was calm in those times. But then you could only stand a day or two of vacation, and then by golly, it was all over again. Lights in your eyes, 4:30 in the morning in the hotel, get your butt in the car, let's go. Bam. Ooh, how rest was that? How great was that? Our vacations. But what I realized from my father is, though, when we would go hiking around where we lived, I grew up in the desert in Texas, on the border in El Paso, and in New Mexico. And if we woke up to do an early hike, my father was patient, he was present, and he loved it. But he had so much pressure on him thinking, I've got to get away, that's where it's at, vacation's where it's at. And he hated it. And he would... One of my favorite things, though, also with my father is if you slept in the car when we were hauling butt down the freeway, he would go, you're missing it. You're missing it. I was like, I can't win, I'm missing it. So what I want you to think about today is, are you living for those vacations? Yes, it's nice to have a break from everyday life. It's so great to get away and have retreats. But if you're spending the rest of your life thinking that the only time you can be grateful and present is your vacation, you are missing out, frankly, on most of your life. Most of your life. Because most of our life, except if you're Ross, is not spent on the beach. So today, and that's not jealousy, that's that's not envy. I'm centered. It's good. So what we're going to think about today is, we think, we have to change our location to get better. And it's almost like, here's the deal. If you don't have it together here, you're not going to have it together in Europe or Hawaii or Florida or Australia. You're not. If you've got something huge going on in here and you put yourself in hell in your thoughts all the time, you're going to do the same thing, only at a more expensive place. Okay? I used to joke with my husband when we were first married. I used to say, you think you're frustrated with me? I can't get away from me. At least you can get away from me. Okay? So going across the world is not going to get you away from who you are. The other thing I want you to entertain, and this came to me in meditation, and it was very powerful, and I scribbled it down on a spreadsheet next to me, and it says, gratitude is remembering that we are complete, and this moment is complete. Complete. Now, that doesn't mean you just stop and you go, life's done, I'm complete. Entertain the notion with me today that life is about joy and pleasure and evolving into more of who you are. Okay? Look at it from that way. Don't look at it as, I will be okay once I gain this, lose this, do this. Okay? Go to that place where you go, life will be is amazing already. And I have the opportunity to have more joy, more pleasure, more growth. Okay? So gratitude. Gratitude is remembering that we are complete and the moment is complete. So, have you ever woke up in the morning and you're doing pretty well, you're grateful for your day, and then you start to play a little game in your mind, and you start to go over the rubble in your mind, like, we think for some reason it's okay to feel really bad and crappy, but the minute you feel really good, woo, when's the other shoe going to fall? I can't feel this good. So we play a game where we talk ourselves into it. We talk ourselves into feeling bad. Has anyone ever done this, or am I the only Looney Tune here? Okay? You sit there and you go, oh, today's a great day and I'm going to accomplish so much. But I forgot to call my mother. Oh. And then, and I think the birthday card's going to be like, oh. Okay. And then you kind of push that aside. And then you go, oh, I forgot to mow the yard. Oh, gosh, what did the neighbor, oh, God. And even bigger things. And you entertain yourself. And you go from heaven to hell in sometimes I'm pretty good at it. Like about 10 seconds. I go from being like, hi everybody, to, this is a hard life. Okay? So I want you to think about that it's natural to be in a state of joy and love because what? You are complete. So I'm going to talk to you today about 3 types of hellish thought processes that you want to avoid, or I want to avoid at least. The first one is having unbridled, unrealistic expectations. There's nothing wrong with having standards. Okay? There's a standard of behavior. There's standards of things that you say, I will not be treated like this, or these are things that bring me enjoyment, or boundaries. I'm talking about unrealistic expectations. Richard Carlson wrote, and this is a powerful little book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff with Your Family. And Richard Carlson, he passed in 2006, but he has a whole collection of books that are still published, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. These little books have so much great information. And he wrote, the truth is, our expectations are responsible for a great deal of our grief and stress. We expect something to be a certain way, or a person to behave in a certain way, and it doesn't happen. So we get upset, bothered, disappointed, and unhappy. Have you ever done that? Expected somebody's behavior to be different? Expected your relatives at Thanksgiving to be different? And you set yourself up for that. But then what happens? They're just being themselves. They're not out to get you, believe it or not. I've had some paranoia moments with my family, and then I had to realize they're really not trying to make me crazy. They're just who they are. I remember being a young mom with Spencer and Jacob, and I would think in my mind, okay, even though the grocery store is basically a battlefield, and you know that if you have small children, anything can happen, but I would always set my expectations so high. So I remember one time in the Kroger in Lebanon, Ohio, and I have probably a I would say a 5-year-old Jake and a 2-year-old Spence. And we held hands, we get in there. I just need a few items for dinner, and we're going to the U-Scan. So I thought, they're being so great. My expectations were so high for this trip. Just a quick trip. And I put them beside me at the U-Scan. Well, you know, if you've ever used the U-Scan, that what happens is when you pull an item and you scan it and you put it in, it's weighed, right? They figured out that it was really funny that if they touched the scale, that we could say, please take out the last item from the bag, please take out the last item from the bag. And so they're standing there giggling, going like this, and I'm trying to scan the keys or whatever it is, and finally I'm like, stop it, stop it! And everybody around me is like this, and I'm like, okay, cool. All right, so finally we get out of there, and I realized that they get restrained in the cart, even if you're going in for 2 items, because they will mess with the U-Scan. The problem was, as I worked myself up, I was so upset, but what I was overlooking is what? They were toddlers. And now I look back, and that's pretty funny. I see kids doing it at King Soopers all the time, and I'm like, you should have put them in the cart. All right? So my expectation was up here. Were my kids out to get me? Well, I'm still debating that. But they didn't mean to. It was what they were doing. So I made a experience that could have been not so stressful. I made it into a big stress fest. Do you see how that works? When you expect something to be different. I won't even go into how Spencer used to behave in Mass. I will tell you this also, in your expectation and your perspective, I love this quote from Abraham Lincoln. It says, we can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. What about that? I could rejoice because I had 2 healthy little kids that were obnoxious and wonderful and healthy, that they could push the U-Scan thing over and over, right? So it's in that perspective, And God has placed us in a situation. God has placed us in the situations. We are there, and we can do this. And we need to be grateful and realize we are complete, and we have what it takes in that situation, in that time. So, when you're trying to go to that place of unbridled, unrealistic expectations, I want you to get rid of the false belief that if a situation doesn't go a certain way, we are failures. That's not true. It's not true. It's learning. And I know some of you right now are going through some big stuff. There are mentors, there are companions, there is powerful prayer work to be done, and you are loved, and you are guided, and you are complete. Find that place of gratitude. Find that place of gratitude. So, besides another way that we go from our heaven thoughts or hell thoughts and 0 to 60 is attachment. Attachment. Wayne Dyer wrote in There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, it is extremely common for people to build their lives on the mistaken notion that without certain things or certain people, they cannot be happy or free. These attachments are the source of despair because we justify gloom on the basis of what or who is missing. In fact, we experience ecstasy when we attain an object, anxiety over losing it, and despair when it is lost. Have you ever done that? Have you ever saved money for something? A home, a car, a chair, a table, okay? And you think, if I get this one thing, it's going to complete the room. It's going to be the best. This table is going to be the best. And then you get that table, and you have anxiety over losing it. What if one of my kids runs into it? What if somebody scratches it? I paid this much money for that table. And then if something does happen to it, you have despair because I spent all that money on that table and it's gone. Okay, a table might be a small example, but have you done that to people? That is a hard thing to do to another person. Because what it says is, I am incomplete, so you best complete me. What does that do to people when we do that to them? When we say, I am nothing, here, fix me, make me complete, and if you go away, I'm going to be devastated. Wow, that's the start of a really healthy relationship. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you already are complete. Being grateful, getting past the fact that you think that you need something to make you complete. God is the only source of your peace. People, you can commune with people. I love people. I love people. I love to commune with people. But the joy that we share, the source at the root of that is God. God is the source of your peace and your joy and your laugh and your wonder. And it may really hurt when that person is no longer there because this life is transitory. But that undercurrent is always there. It's always there. You know, we're coming up on a season that is so beautiful and so miserable in so many ways. Attachment. Do you see the attachment all over the place that goes on? I hear people talking on a daily basis, so attached to how the meal has to look, what they're going to get from Pottery Barn to serve their food. Christmas, what things have to happen that I have to make Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating perfect. How much gratitude is there? What if you realized that if Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever came and you didn't have the Pottery Barn platter and maybe you didn't have a tree, and it was okay. That it was okay to be around just people that you loved and cared for. What would happen then? So I invite you in that process, remembering that you're complete, to start at ground zero and say, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like I said, whatever holiday people are celebrating, to say, what if I just took it all away? And then build it up from there. Have joy when you get the tree to say, okay, this represents something that our family loves to do. Our family has ornaments, and we tell stories. Our ornaments, I don't scrapbook. I spent about, I don't know how much money, I can't even say it because my husband's in the room, okay? When the kids were little, I spent all this money getting scrapbooking stuff, and I'm not dogging scrapbookers, because I got some friends who are mean scrapbooker, love those girls. But I got about 3 pages in with the decals and the journaling and the photos, and it's in the basement, and Jacob can take it with him to college. So what we do at Christmas, though, is we use it as that opportunity. And we have ornaments that we pick out to symbolize the year. And then the boys will call out a year, and I'll read what we did that year. Why did we pick the ornament that Mom's sitting in the chair for the spa? Because it was a stressful year. We moved. Had to do a lot of spa time that year. Okay? So those sort of things. Celebrating coming from here. Knowing that you are complete. That you are wonderful and amazing. And that you don't need things to complete you. And I forgot to share with you when, for your unbridled expectations, there's an affirmation. And this sounds flippant, but it's not. It is what it is. It is what it is, okay? This simply means it is what it is. Accept it for what it is and for who you are. And then you can open yourself up to amazing things. The third thing that we can do is we do unhealthy comparisons and evaluations. And thank you, Ken, for that song. Isn't that cool? You're thinking more is better, more is better. The grass is greener, you've got to mow more, right? You're still going to have to mow. You're still going to have to mow. So we compare our lives and where we're at to other people. I should be here by now. How many of you have said that to yourself? I should be here by now. We should be here by now. Okay? That is not a very motivating thought, I realize. How about we are here right now? Where does Spirit want us to go from here right now? How about that kind of a thought? Dr. Judith Orloff in Emotional Freedom, which is a great book. Comparing is a natural tendency we all have. It can be absolutely neutral, as you merely evaluate similarities and differences. And it's also productive if you're inspired to emulate another's impressive traits. However, it becomes dysfunctional when it stirs envy and jealousy, if you judge yourself as better or less than others. And I love this part. In a spiritual sense, comparing your path to another's is comparing apples and oranges. Your life is explicitly designed for your soul's growth. Let me read that again. Your life is specifically designed for your soul's growth. Intuition helps you know this. When you tune in, try to intuit the grace of both the hurdles and joys you've been given. These are life's legacy to you. To you. I will tell you, I have an accounting degree somewhere in a closet. It's in a closet. What am I doing right now? I am working at a hair salon. And I'm a mom, and I'm serving here as a practitioner, and I take improv classes. And I have joy beyond measure in my life when I'm in that healthy part, and I'm grateful and I am complete. But if I go down a road where I get on Facebook, which is the devil's playground, and I get on there and I see some of my college friends who are like the ones who didn't get caught up on the Enron scandal at Arthur Andersen, which that was another story. But, you know, huge houses, glamorous trips all over the world. You know, I've been promoted to partner, this and that. If I go down that road with my cup of coffee, that doesn't serve my life. I am in a fantastic place. I get to be here with you, amazing people. I get to serve you. Serve you. And you know what? A salon is a really cool spiritual teaching ground. Amazing. Amazing. You know, I coordinate appointments and I help with things and I put towels in and I do whatever's needed. And I'm so grateful for that because that's a low stress job. And the deal is this, is I love our salon owner. It's so loving. She's my close friend and that's why I'm here. And in this comparison evaluation thing, we have amazingly beautiful people come in the salon. And they sit there and they will show a stylist a picture from a magazine and say, I want to look like this. And our stylists are so good because they just look at it and they go, okay, well, here's the situation. They did this to their hair, they did this to their face, they did this, this, and this, and this. You know, we can't really achieve that right now. But guess what I know? And I hear our stylists do this all the time. They look at something and they go, you have this shaped face. Oh my God, you have these eyes. You know what we can do for you? If we take a little off the top and we do this and we style it like this, it'll be amazing. And people go, oh, you already have the raw material to work with. You know, and I'm not saying that you can't look for high fashion and want to emulate that and have fun with that, but what I'm saying is when you think that you have to look like someone else, whether you're a man or a woman, that's comparing yourself. That's not being grateful, realizing you're complete. And so it's really a pleasure to work in some place where people, the stylists are so caring and they say, that's not achievable, but you know what? You have this, and we can do this for you. And that's a blessing. The comparison and the evaluations. You know, when we're plugging into that false belief that if I would be better if I were more like other people or different. That's a false belief. If I were different or more like other people, that's a false belief. I'm going to give you a really powerful, such a Zen saying for this one. So Zen. I mean, this is like top of the mountain hiking, groundbreaking Zen. Are you ready? Keep your eyes on your own paper. My friend from New Jersey, Mary Ellen, used to say that all the time. People just need to keep their eyes on their own paper. And that's a poor accent for Mary Ellen. She's got a beautiful New Jersey accent. But people need to keep their eyes on their own paper. Just work on what you've got. So, think about your latitude, where you are. Think about what you're focusing on right now. Being in the gratefulness that you are complete. If you can accept that and know that your new experiences are not because you're lacking, but they're so you can have joy, pleasure, and growth. And you know, for me, realizing that I'm complete frees me up to serve. We are all called to serve. All of us, every single one of us. All in different aspects. If you know that you are complete when you go to the office or you are at your house or wherever you are, you can serve. You can serve by being kind, by not being too needy. Does that make sense? I'm not talking not needing people, but I'm talking you are vibrating at a higher level and you're really realizing who you are. And when you do that, that helps people remember who they are. And that's service. Not everyone's meant to be a minister or a practitioner. But you're meant for some sort of service. So I encourage you to get the latitude of your thoughts, the scope of your thoughts, into that place, into that remembrance of knowing, so that you can be full of gratitude for yourself, so you can remember you're complete, and you can serve. Because the world needs you. The world needs you. So let us pray.